Let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Hey everybody, welcome back to another LEGO Batman Legends of the Dark Knight video. It's been quite a while since I've covered this game, with all the info that we are getting for the game and it being right around the corner when it comes to its release, which the developers actually changed a little bit if you do get the deluxe edition, moving it to May 19th instead of its original date, which is honestly great for those impatient fans like me that want the game right now.
I want it now!
But regardless, instead of doing separate videos every time we got brand new info, I wanted to do a massive video when they released a brand new trailer, and I wanted to break that down along with every bit of info that we have gotten so far, like the side character reveals, more info on the villains, and every Easter egg and reference in the brand new trailer, which we will get into shortly. But let's not waste any more of your guys' time, and let's get into the first bits of info regarding the side characters that you guys will be playing as in this game. Starting with the first one that we got a better look at, and that is Catwoman herself. Now, Catwoman, like Jim Gordon, was revealed in previous trailers, and in those trailers, we did see snippets of her gameplay. But that is just it. We only had pieces of her gameplay through trailers, unlike with Jim Gordon, where we got a better look at his gameplay with a playable demo, which I will get into him a little bit later. But when it comes to Catwoman herself, from what we saw from the trailers, her combat was taking inspiration from Arkham City. But also, we do see that she had an ability to summon a cat as well, which she can use in stealth, but also in combat. And this ability to summon a cat and use it in stealth in combat is actually a very interesting idea, because it's actually referencing certain elements of Catwoman's lore from the original animated series, with how she was with one of her cats, and also how she was in the original Tim Burton Batman. And to me, compared to the previous versions of LEGO Catwoman that we have played as, this version now feels very distinct, because it does feel like she has her own gameplay style compared to previous versions, where she has her own unique mechanics. While her gameplay does borrow a lot from her previous outings in the Arkham series, like Arkham City and Arkham Knight, and the developers do lean into her gameplay style from those games with her acrobatic combat and also her ability to use the whip, but they also don't make it too similar, and they do give her some different abilities that Catwoman didn't have in those games, which they do shine a light on with this character breakdown, where they do give us a better insight on the mechanics that we do know of, and also ones that we didn't know of. Starting things off, they do give us a look at the character's stats and also some of her side abilities. Her first ability is actually to do with her whip, which they do show off, where similar to Arkham City, she can use it in combat to stun enemies, and have basic attacks with it, which can stun enemies but also spin them, and the more you do it, the more they spin. We also see that she can use her whip in the environment to help solve environmental puzzles, where we see her using it and it unscrews some type of vent screw, so the whip itself has a lot more variety and can be used for a lot more, very similar to how the LEGO games handled Captain America's shield, where you can use it for blocking, you can throw it, but you could also use it for puzzles to unlock certain things, which is honestly pretty cool, and it feels like the developers are taking some notes from what they've done previously with how they're changing up certain gameplay mechanics for this game, where the whip could take some inspiration from some of Spider-Man's abilities, but also Captain America's shield. Also, another one of Catwoman's abilities for this game is the ability to wall climb. This is something that we have seen previously with other LEGO games, but with this ability, they do not specify if it's something she can only do in levels or if she can do this in the open world. And with them obviously taking some inspiration from Catwoman's gameplay in Batman Arkham City and Knight, it would be incredibly interesting if this wall climb ability was something you can do in the open world to get to higher ground, very similar to what Catwoman could do with her traversal in Batman Arkham City and Batman Arkham Knight. So it would be very interesting if she does have a similar traversal ability. But from what we do see, it does seem like it's something she can only do in levels, which is slightly disappointing, but regardless, we do get a better look at one of her other abilities, to use a laser pointer to summon a cat that you can either play as briefly to go into vents defense, which we do see, or you can use it in stealth or in combat, where this ability kind of reminds me of something you can do in the Lego Harry Potter games, where you can play as and briefly summon a pet animal that could help you out when it comes to puzzles. And we do get a bit of a look at that when the cat actually goes into the vent, where maybe you can use your feline friend to help you out when it comes to activating switches that are out of reach and other various things. We also see the combat ability called Call of the Feline, where you can summon the cat and they could scratch at an enemy's face or other various things, but the cat can also be used to distract enemies as well, having them come towards a different direction, where you can use that in stealth, very similar to a Sonic Batarang, where the cat can meow, draw the enemy towards it, and then you can actually use it to pounce on the enemy and attack them. And we also know that we can upgrade Catwoman's abilities as well with the info from the brand new trailer, which I will get into at some point later in the video. Another ability that Catwoman has that wasn't spotlighted was the ability to actually glide like some of the other characters, which I don't know how I feel about, all things considered, but regardless, moving on to the next playable character, and that is Jim Gordon. Jim Gordon was another character that was a part of the original LEGO Batman announcement, and we actually got a better look at his gameplay in the Ace Chemicals demo. While he doesn't have a character spotlight, which I really thought he did, we do know some of his gameplay mechanics. He does have the ability to glide like other characters, using a police glider. He also has a grapple gun given to him by Batman, which does help out his traversal, but something else that he does have is a gun-like weapon that doesn't just fire standard bullets. It has two different modes. It actually could be 4 for each character, even with Catwoman, but we haven't really seen that, so we only have 2 options. The foam mode, where the gun shoots a foam-like substance, which can help Jim Gordon out in combat to immobilize enemies, being very similar to the freeze blast or the glue grenade from Batman Arkham Origins, which is honestly unique and pretty cool for Jim Gordon to have, and it's also incredibly useful for puzzles to clog up certain things, to make a chain reaction, or to open up pathways. While the ricochet bullet mode, as its name should suggest, shoots out different bullets that ricochet off of items and walls to hit enemies and do various things. And we don't really know if the ricochet bullet mode can help you out with puzzles, so we really don't know how useful this mode is outside of combat. But a lot of his abilities look incredibly fun. We haven't gotten a deep dive into his character, but we do have a fundamental understanding of his abilities from what we've seen from the demos and also playable footage, with Jim being a bit of a shooter-like character that can use his guns to his advantage. And hopefully these 2 gadget modes are not the only ones we are going to get for him, along with other characters as well. And hopefully, similar to a mechanic that you can do in LEGO DC Supervillains with Deadshot, you can use the ricochet bullets to bounce them off of walls to hit switches just out of reach, similar to what you could do with Captain America's shield. But moving away from the character of Jim Gordon's gameplay and moving to the boy wonder himself, who got a gameplay reveal deep dive, Robin. Robin, like Batgirl, was a character that we knew was going to be in the game, but wasn't officially revealed till we got to see him in the Heroes and Villains trailer, which in that trailer we did get to see some of his abilities, like his combat, where he can use his batons, and also some sort of gadget that he can use to create some sort of rope line. But outside of some miscellaneous shots, a lot of his gameplay does seem like it was taking inspiration from some elements of the Arkham games with that version of Robin, but also what they done previously with their version of Robin in the LEGO Batman games. But this character deep dive does give us a better interpretation of some of his abilities and mechanics. Obviously, like Batman, Robin does have the ability to glide and grapple, but his combat style compared to Batman is completely different. Instead of using his fists, he uses his batons, but sometimes he can unite them into a bow staff. Also, seeing the character's stats, where he does have his acrobatics acrobatic nature, just like he did in the previous LEGO games, and also some quips and some type of camouflage that he can implement, which is pretty cool. And then they get into his actual abilities. I will say that his camouflage stat is pretty low. When it comes to Robin's abilities, he has his battle staff, which are the batons that he can use in combat, but he can also unite them into a bow staff that he can use to open doors, which is pretty cool. He also has his Birdarang, which is pretty simply his version of a Batarang that he can use for quick fire long range combat. And unlike the Batarang, it's actually blue. And then you have Robin's Spinarang, which you can use to select multiple targets, which is a little different than the standard Birdarang with how it operates in combat. Also, we get a better look at a gadget that was revealed and shown in the trailer, and that is the cable launcher, which kind of reminds me of a gadget that you can use in Marvel Spider-Man 1, and also an upgraded feature of Slade's weapon in Batman Arkham Origins. And similar to that weapon, you can actually use it to create a line that you can walk on as Robin to get to one point to another if you need to, which is pretty interesting that they use this idea from Arkham Origins when it comes to this gadget in several facets. But moving away from the boy wonder himself to the tech genius that is Batgirl herself. Another character that we got to see in the Heroes and Villains trailer along with Robin, where we got to see some of her various abilities. Like Batman, she does have a bit of martial arts based combat, but she also has various tech based abilities. One of them actually reminding me of a concept that I had for my Arkham Shadows DLC. Abilities for her if you got to play as her, but regardless, we see her throwing some sort of gadget that allows her to hack open a door, and obviously she can glide and grapple like Batman. But this character highlight shows off even more of her abilities. They do give Batgirl very interesting stats. When it comes to her combat, it's at 10, along with her decrypting and dadception, which is a little interesting, and it's a little nod to her relationship with her father, Jim Gordon. And this version of Batgirl does share some similarities to her Arkham Knight DLC counterpart, but there are a lot of differences as well. For instance, they do lean into her overall genius, but also her interest in technology and her overall hacking skill, with a majority of her abilities that we do see in this character spotlight being hacking based. Very similar to smart characters that we've seen in other LEGO games like LEGO Marvel Superheroes and others, but this time it's majorly different, where Batgirl can hack basic things, but also has a gadget that she can use to hack open things and even weapons themselves. But also, the first ability that we do see is that she does have an ability to summon a drone, which she can use on enemies in combat, which is pretty cool, where the drone can actually shock a plethora of enemies, but if the drone is in the air, she can actually use it to grapple up to higher places, which is incredibly useful if there's nothing to grapple onto, and I really kind of like this. But if you want to, you can actually briefly ride the drone as well. We also get a better look at the gadget that she does use in the trailer, and that is the Hackerang, which does kind of remind me of the cryptographic sequencer or the hacking device from the Arkham games, which you can use to unlock towers through small terminals or even devices, and your drone has even more abilities like a focused blast that can destroy nearby enemies, which is honestly pretty cool and really nice to see that Batgirl has a drone this time around and that she can use it in various means. And that is it when it comes to the side characters that you can play as in this game. While there are a confirmation of 7 characters like Nightwing and also Talia al Ghul, while we have seen snidbits of Nightwing's gameplay in some bits of the trailers, we really haven't seen enough to go off of, and we've seen nothing when it comes to Talia's gameplay overall. So instead of speculating on certain bits of their gameplay, I wanted to move on to the other bits of marketing that we have received for this game, starting with the overall henchmen, where they did release a deep dive on the henchmen and the overall enemies of this game, where we got to see a lot of different variants, some from previous trailers, and we get a better look at a lot of different variants of enemies for this game, with a lot of various Easter eggs. Where very similar to Arkham City, there's a lot of different enemy factions, and each one is very unique because they also reference a certain bit of Batman lore. While you do have your standard thugs and maybe escaped prisoners from Arkham Asylum, you also, on the other hand, have different variants for villain henchmen, like the Joker, for instance. You have his Red Hood gang from the comics, and and then you have his henchmen from the original Tim Burton Batman film, and also the Joker thugs from the Dark Knight film. Whether or not we'll see Arkham-like variants or other types of variants of Joker henchmen have yet to be seen. Also, we have seen different variants of Penguin henchmen, some of them in various attires and outfits, along with Mr. Freeze henchmen that reference the idea of Batman and Robin, along with Poison Ivy henchmen as well, where her henchmen are obviously plant-themed enemies, but we also get a look at Two-Face's thugs, which are referencing Batman Forever, which there are some street thugs that do reference Batman Forever, like the Neon Gang that we did see briefly, and a couple other ones as well. Whether or not we will see other characters like Bane, Black Mask, that is referenced in the new trailer, and also other variants of villains have their own factions as well, is yet to be seen. The fact that they're taking so much from the different variants of movies like Batman Forever is pretty amazing. And speaking of Batman Forever, with how they changed up the marketing after showing off the thugs to show off more Riddler-based things, like a riddle made out of symbols, and also a brand new villain poster of the central villain that we did see briefly in a gameplay demo for LEGO Batman Legends of the Dark Knight briefly, which they really didn't change up his design a whole lot from that brief tease to make him more similar to a movie counterpart like the Batman or even Batman Forever. They mainly just borrowed something from an older set, which I'm a bit iffy on considering the fact that some of the villains that are in this game have very unique designs that call back to the movies, and Riddler is just being reused from an older set. And I'm not really a big fan of that, but they do go into detail about his character in the game and what he will be doing. And just like in the Rocksteady Batman games, he serves the exact same purpose, leaving riddles, puzzles, and things that you can solve throughout the city, getting Riddler trophies and other various stuff, which despite the burnout of this concept, I think it's utterly amazing, and I'm really glad that they're using him for this purpose. After the Riddler marketing, we got a brief new teaser having a Joker sequence that is a one-to-one creation from the Tim Burton Batman, and then another brand new trailer recently after some new suit reveals that went more into depth about the Batcave, which I will be breaking down right now, along with the teasers afterwards and every Easter egg I could find. Starting off the brand new trailer, we see Batman dive bombing off of the Wing Tower building, which is something you can do in Batman Arkham Knight, and then we quick cut to the brief Joker sequence in the art gallery that we saw previously in another trailer. Then we see Batman in gameplay sliding down some sort of pole into the Batcave, and judging by different shots, there are poles like this throughout the Batcave, so this could be something that you can do to get to different levels of the Batcave or from Wayne Manor itself, going from Wayne Manor into the Batcave through secret entrances, which we do know is possible because we have seen snippets of this fact in other trailers. But when looking at this shot, there is a lot of different Easter eggs in the background, but I also would like to point out how gorgeous the Batcave looks, and also how layered and detailed it is. In the background, we can see a couple Batmobiles, the original classic red Batmobile from Detective Comics, which we will see better looks at later on in the trailer. Also, we see next to it some sort of purple van, which is more than likely either a Batgirl vehicle or maybe a Catwoman vehicle, which does look like it's an original creation, but I'm not for certain, because I did try doing some research to look up what type of vehicle this could be referencing for the different characters, and I couldn't really find anything. But next to that is a Nightwing-based car, which obviously does confirm some more Nightwing-based vehicles. We also see some vehicles below that, but I couldn't really make out what exactly these vehicles were. Also, in the background of this shot, on the left-hand side, we do see an area where all the bat suits are going to be kept, and we also see a giant bat symbol made out of Legos, which is a reference to a brand new Lego set that has been released, and it is very interesting that they are including it in this game, which we do see it in multiple shots of this trailer. As Batman slides down even further, I couldn't make out anything on the right-hand side, but we do quick cut to a brief sequence with Catwoman at the Shrek department store, and also a brand new brief sequence of Two-Face flipping his coin. And of course, we quick cut from the Two-Face from Batman and Robin to Batman and Robin during the circus sequence, looking up at something, which we did see in the Heroes and Villains trailer. Obviously, this scene and sequence are both taking a little bit of inspiration from Batman Forever, along with Two-Face's design as well. And we briefly did see more footage of the circus sequence, reference when it comes to the giant bomb and other stuff in the Robin deep dive. But after that quick cut of Robin and Batman, we cut back to Batman in a different sequence, which is brand new / old, when he finally gets close to Penguin's car that he crashed, which was a reference to the Batman. The shot after that is a quick cut of Batman in the open world, and I gotta admit, it looks absolutely gorgeous, and there are a lot of details in the background. Despite the gorgeous amount of texturing and a plethora of other things, the first Easter egg that I did spot is the building behind Batman on the left side, which has 3 different Easter eggs, and the building itself is most likely an Easter egg as well, judging by its title, with it being the first Easter egg, the Gotham Globe, a reference to one of Gotham's many news organizations, which many Gotham reporters have worked at in the past, including Vicky Vale and Jack Ryder and a couple others. The next Easter egg that I did spot lower on the building is a nod to one of Batman's many villains, and that is Black Mask. And the design of Black Mask is pretty interesting because it does look like they are referencing Batman Arkham Origins and also his DLC appearance in Batman Arkham Knight, with the way his skull mask looks and also his white suit, which was interesting to see another Batman villain get teased in this game. Another Easter egg on the side of the building was another Wayne organization, which is Wayne Financial, a relatively new organization that must be new for the game because I've never seen it in DC Comics. And with Bruce Wayne being incredibly rich, it does make sense since he has Wayne International Plaza, Wayne Tech, and a plethora of others. Looking closer at the right-hand side, I couldn't notice too many other details, but we do quick cut to another shot of the Batcave, where we do get a better look at it and we can see even more Easter eggs. Like, for instance, you can see the iconic green dinosaur in the dead center of the Batcave. We also get a better look at the Lego Bat symbol, and also even more vehicles. We do see the red classic Batmobile that we have seen in previous shots, but also the purple van as well, along with some other vehicles in this shot. For instance, in the dead center, we do see a Batmobile, which could be the one from Lego Batman 2, but with its red markings, it also could be this Batmobile that was teased in the early marketing. Next to that Batmobile is some sort of motorcycle. Whether it is Catwoman's motorcycle or just a standard bike, we don't know. We also see some other vehicles on the left side where some of them are hard to make out. The upper echelon does have some police vehicles that are most likely for Jim Gordon, but the vehicles below that are harder to actually make out, and I can tell that they are Batmobiles, but I couldn't actually tell which ones. Also, I couldn't actually see any other Easter eggs in the Batcave in this shot, so moving on, we see Batman in his Dark Knight suit gliding off of Wayne Tower, and we quick cut to a scene that we saw in the Ace Chemicals demo with the fall of Red Hood. Then we see Batman in his Tim Burton Batsuit with Catwoman entering some sort of area, which is more than likely a sequence with a co-op mission with Catwoman. Then we quick cut to the Batmobile driving in Gotham City, with a couple Easter eggs in the background. For starters, the Batmobile that you are driving in this shot is actually the one we saw previously in the Batcave. Looking closer at the billboards in the background, we do see an iconic soda billboard that I believe is a reference to something. I just can't remember what. There is a billboard sign that's more news oriented, and it looks like Jack Ryder is giving out some sort of news, or at least it could be Jack Ryder, and there's a lot of miscellaneous billboard signs, some for perfume, some for various other things as well. Also, closer towards the end of the Batmobile, there's a small little poster that does look like it's a reference to the Zatanna poster that we saw in Batman Arkham Origins, or it could be something else in its entirety, like a Wayne Museum poster. But after that, we quick cut to a scene in the Iceberg Lounge, which is most likely a reference to the Batman, where Batman goes into the Iceberg Lounge to get information from the Penguin, and this could be a scene similar to that. Also, the design of the Iceberg Lounge looks a little bit different than the one we saw in Lego DC Supervillains and in Arkham City, so this could be the one that they have from the Batman, but slightly modified to be a little bit more Lego friendly. Plus, we do see a stage that we have seen previously in other trailers, and it is pretty cool. The next shot in the trailer is Batman fighting some sort of thug, and it does look like he's wearing the outfit from Lego Batman 2, but also looking closer at the shipping crates behind the two characters, there is one from Q Corp, which is a reference to Oliver Queen, aka the Green Arrow, and also Star Labs. And later on, there is another shipping container with the label of a K, which could be a reference to another DC character. We do cut to a sequence with Bane that we saw in the original first trailer for this game, along with another shot of Batman in Gotham City gliding over a building, where we can see the iconic Wayne Tower, along with some other buildings, like one with a red and white radio tower, which we probably did see with the Batgirl gameplay teaser. We also see the bat symbol lit up in the sky, along with some type of billboard in the background that's hard to make out. Before we cut back to the title sequence in the Batcave dev diary, where we can see more of the Batcave and also some vehicles, where we see on the right hand side some of the vehicles that we saw earlier in the trailer, like the red classic Batmobile, the purple van, and also a Nightwing style car. But we also get a better look at the vehicles on the left hand side, where we see a police van, car, and some sort of Batmobile next to that, or whatever type of vehicle. And it is hard to see any other vehicles or references in the background, so we cut to the next shot of Batman gliding in Gotham City, and we do get to see a better look at some of the islands in the background while it is raining at night. When Batman lands, we do see a building behind him, which I couldn't actually make out what it says. It could be a reference to Stag or Sionis Industries, but it's really hard to tell. Also, the iconic structure of a lot of the buildings is pretty cool, and we briefly did see Wayne Tower again in this shot. But I could be wrong about the building behind him, because it does spell out Gotham, so it could be something for Gotham. The next shot we do see is Batman walking the Joker into Arkham Asylum, pretty similar to what he does in the original Arkham Asylum, which this is referencing, where we see Officer Cash and also Officer Bowles. Following that Batman Arkham Asylum reference, we get another Arkham reference with Batman doing an iconic stealth takedown to take down an enemy, and we also see on the right hand side some sort of poster of the Joker, and with one of his henchmen being the mime henchman from the Tim Burton Batman movie. This is actually pretty interesting. And this stealth takedown on a gargoyle is pretty interesting, because this was an ability that he can do in the Arkham series, which was yet to be confirmed for this Lego Batman video game. As for where this sequence would take place, I do have some theories, probably during the Catwoman and Batman team-up mission, but I am not completely for sure. We do see another solo shot of Batman before quick cutting to another combat sequence on a bridge or somewhere in the streets of Gotham with the Dark Knight Joker henchmen, where they're wearing the masks from the bait heist. The next fight sequence with the Joker henchmen is in a different part of Gotham, where we see one of them using an RPG, but we also can see some graffiti in the background, where we see the Why So Serious tag, which is a reference to Heath Ledger's Joker, and Something Go, and a couple other things as well. We do see another shot of Gotham with a plethora of Easter eggs, some of them that are kind of hard to spot. One of them looks like it's an Easter egg to Two-Face because of the plethora of billboards that we can see, and some of the details on the billboards are pretty hard to make out, but there are a couple interesting Easter eggs, some of them to different Gotham buildings and restaurants. After that, we get a gliding over shot of Gotham, where we do see a billboard on the right side for Gotham Museum, and also a plethora of different buildings as well. And a couple on the left side do remind me of buildings from Batman Arkham Knight and Arkham City, and I gotta admit, it looks absolutely gorgeous, and I can't wait to play this game. We do see another shot of Gotham with some different things, but it's really hard to make out any other Easter eggs, so we cut to the Gotham Theater, where there are a plethora of movie Easter eggs, like the Smiling, which is a reference to The Shining, and also an Indiana Jones Easter egg, and some other Easter egg, which could be a reference to the older monster movies of the era, which I couldn't remember for the life of me. So then we see different other movie posters, which one of them I thought was a reference to The Godfather, but it is a reference to this movie, and we also see a reference to The Matrix and this movie right here, along with this one being a reference to this. Then we see some more movie posters, one of them being a reference to Wonka and Space Jam, with the gray ghost Ghost Returns, probably being a reference to the Batman Returns, and also we see the Hog, which is probably a reference to this movie right here. Then we quick cut to a shot of Batgirl and Nightwing, before seeing a shot of the Joker getting angry and slamming down a red phone. Then we get another shot of Carmine Falcone, most likely in the early bits of the game, actually arguing with the Red Hood as he breaks in, which is probably a reference to the Long Halloween. And then we see a scene from Wayne Manor, which we do get to see a plethora of shots of, and this most likely takes place in the early bits of the game because the following shots show young Bruce going to look for his costume before he falls into the Batcave, which this is a collage of references from the original Nolan films, but also the animated series as well. Then we get a blurry image of the title of the Batcave before getting some shots of it. And the shots for the early bits of the cave are obviously referencing the original Nolan films with how Bruce upgraded it as the movie went on, and they did say during this sequence that they would be doing something slightly similar. Then we quick cut to a sequence with young Bruce in the cave after he fell, before cutting to an adult Bruce rediscovering the cave, similar to how he did in Batman Begins, having a one-to-one sequence from Batman Begins with the bats surrounding him as he's holding up a light. And in the next sequence, we see Batman walking behind a car as Jim Gordon is in front of him, which I don't exactly know where this sequence takes place, but we do cut to another shot in the Batcave as Batman is using the Batarang to do some targeting practice, as we do see the dinosaur in the background, and also the giant penny is beside him. And we do see another shot of Batman doing an epic pose. We do see a scene of Alfred and Batman going to this machine that will help them excavate the cave, basically making it bigger as the story goes along. And we do see Alfred actually using that said machine as well. Then we do get another shot of the Batcave where we can see the Bat computer, the iconic Lego Bat symbol, and a plethora of Batmobiles like what looks like the Tumbler, Batman's Porsche, and also the 1966 Batmobile. We also see the cars that we saw in previous shots, like the police stuff, and also the other cars as well. We do see the Scott Snyder Batmobile as well, and also it's interesting that there are a lot of vents as well in the Batcave. We do see another shot of the Batcave where we can see a mini kit along with some of the vehicles we saw in previous shots, along with also maybe what looks like a training area, and also a couple other things as well. The next couple shots actually show off a lot of bat suits for the character of Batman, where in the next shot we can see the iconic rainbow bat suit and also the 0 year and the classic blue suit, along with what looks like the Batman Forever suit and what looks like the Tim Burton bat suit next to that, but I'm not completely for sure. And in this shot as well, we do see a bit of a quick change feature when it comes to Batman's suit, with how he can swap them out. And in the next shot, we can see a plethora of other bat suits in a bat suit area, which we have seen in certain bits of this trailer, where we first see the iconic Lego Batman 1 suit, and in the background, we can see a plethora of other suits, where we do see the character shift suits from the Lego Batman 1 suit to this suit from the comics, and in the background, there are a plethora of other suits before it shifts again to the Ben Affleck Batman suit. Then we see another shot of the Batcave with Batman running in the front entryway, and then we get another look at some of the Batmobiles, which we will be seeing throughout the trailer, like the Tumbler, the Schumacher Mobile, the Tim Burton Batman Mobile, the animated series, Robert Pattinson's Batman, and a plethora of others that we do see in this shot. And after that, we do get a look at the upgrade system, where we see Batman upgrading his Batarang or his Batclaw, and it's very weird that we do see only 2 upgrades, and I'm really hoping that there are more than just 2 gadgets for every character. And we do get a look at some of the upgrades that you can do for this gadget, along with the Batclaw itself. Then in the next shot, we can see Batman being able to place one of his trophies in the Batcave, which is the giant Joker card. Next to that, on the right side, we can see a giant bomb, which could be a reference to the Joker or Two-Face, along with some sort of Egyptian sarcophagus in front of it. And on the left side, we can see the Mad Hatter's hat, along with a statue from the Court of owls. Also, the building and trophy system does remind me of something that you could do in LEGO The Incredibles, which is pretty cool. And in the next shot, we do get a better look at the Joker card and also the surrounding area as well, which looks pretty cool. We also see a little sequence of Batman running up to an area and doing some brief meditation, which does show some mini interactable sections of the Batcave that you can have. We also see Batman riding a mini rocket in the Batcave, which was pretty funny and cool. And behind him, there are a couple Easter eggs, one of them being reference to Adam West with some type of shark thing, and also some sort of boat along with a red bird. And on the billboard beside him, it does look like they are referencing Riddler, Bane, and also Penguin right there. Then we quick cut to Batman doing a brief workout in a mini gym area of the Batcave, which is pretty cool, before we transition to a scene with Batman and Catwoman, where Catwoman is teasing Batman, saying an iconic line of muscle, which is pretty funny and cool. And props to the voice actress, who sounds a little bit like Michelle Pfeiffer, and also Zoe Kravitz a little bit in previous other Catwomans as well, where we also get a look at the Tim Burton Batman suit before we transition to the bat suits, which we do get a better look at with a full-on area for every suit and also a color-coded ramp system for every suit for every character. And this whole area looks immaculate. It's awesome. And we can see a lot of different suits for every single character, and it's pretty cool. And in this shot alone, we can spot a plethora of suits for a plethora of characters, before transitioning to Batman, where we can get a better look at some of his suits, where we can see what looks like an Arkham Asylum suit, the Batman animated series suit, the Nolan suit, and a plethora of others, along with some suits above that next to the bat symbol. Then we finally get a look at the absolute Batman suit with other suits in the background, like the Grey Ghost and also a couple others, before we see another lineup of all of Batman's suits. And some of them are a mixture of older suits and also newer ones that are referencing very interesting material, even confirming the LEGO Batman movie suit as well, where we get a better look at the absolute Batman LEGO figure suits, and we also see some other suits in the background that are referencing a plethora of comics material. And instead of naming every suit that we see in this section, I will be showing you on screen, where I will show a reference to each suit and what it's referencing on screen as you see it. Because during this section, they do show off a plethora of bat suits from a multitude of eras, which is honestly amazing, and I can't believe there are so many that they are putting into this game. And it's really just a treat to me because it just references so much of the era of Batman and his legacy, pun intended, of course. The next shot actually teases and shows off a little bit of the Bat computer, which we have seen in the background in a couple other shots. And they also do show off a little bit of a gameplay component as well with it, where we also see a reference to the red phone from the Adam West TV show, and also a couple other references in gameplay, where we do see a caseload where we get a look at some of the side missions, and also some interesting story side mission references to go along with certain villains like the Riddler, Penguin, and even the League of Shadows that references Ra's al Ghul. While there aren't too many references on the monitors in this shot, we do see a little bit of some of the screen favors that do have some interesting references, like the Falcone's Fishers, which is a reference to the Falcone family, and also a couple other ones, which I had trouble figuring out some of the other references, but we can also see Batman grabbing a mini kit in the Batcave, which is pretty cool that they are returning in this game, which we already knew about, but still. Then we see some different shots of Batman getting the upgrade currency of this game, which are Wing Tech chips, and then we see Batman at the docks or some type of theme park fighting some escaped Arkham inmates, which are pretty interesting to see them in the game. While I obviously knew that there were thug variants based on Arkham inmates, it's also interesting to see some different weapon variety where one of them is actually holding a stun stick. We do see another shot in Gotham City where Batman uses his Batclaw to pick up an enemy, or more specifically, a two-faced thug, but we also get a rundown on some of the gadget upgrades where the Batarang does have an ability similar to the Sonar Batarang, Batarang in the Arkham games, and some of the abilities that they do showcase during this section do reference a lot of the Arkham gadget abilities that you can do, like the multiple Batarang, the sonar Batarang, and also the ability to do a bat swarm, where unlike the Arkham games where you can do this in a combat takedown, there is a gadget that allows you to do this, and they do show off a little bit of the workbench as well, and also some more of the gadget abilities, like with the Batarang where it has a concussive blast that you can detonate once it hits the ground, and a plethora of other things as well, which I do hope that there are more gadgets that you can use outside of the Batclaw and Batarang for Batman, just like with the other characters as well. After seeing Batman upgrade his Batclaw and seeing a new special takedown that you can do with it to use an enemy like a wrecking ball and slam them into others, we do see another shot of Batman and Catwoman in the Shrek Mall, or another area, which we have seen this scene before where she does ask him who is he, like she does in the original Batman Returns. We see a quick cut of the ending from the Ace Chemicals section with Jim and Batman, before we do see a bit more of Jim's gameplay and also a little bit more of his abilities and upgrades as well, where we do get a spotlight of his abilities with his foam gun and his ricochet bullets, along with Catwoman's abilities with her cat and whip as well, with a major reference to the iconic line from Batman Returns.
Meow.
Following that reference, we see a scene with Alfred and some more Batmobiles and vehicles. Then we get a shot of the Batman v Superman Batmobile and another of the Batcave itself with a plethora of vehicles to boot, which some of them you can actually make out, seeing a couple from previous shots and also some brand new ones as well. We do see more of the Batcave, but not a whole lot. Then we get a closer look at some of the vehicles, like the Tumbler, the Batmobile from the animated series, and what looks like the Arkham Batmobile, along with a cop car and also the Tim Burton Batmobile. Then we see Batman going over to select a vehicle, and this overall system looks pretty cool. And we can see a plethora of Batmobiles, one of them actually being DLC with the Batman Beyond Batmobile, along with Batman and Robin, a gold version, and then we quick cut to Batman using the Robert Pattinson Batmobile, where there is a diner across the street, which kind of reminds me of the one we saw in Arkham Knight, but it could be completely different. We do see Batman using the Adam West Batmobile, and we see him drive by an alley with a sign that has someone that looks arguably like Hugo Strange. We do see some more shots of different vehicles, and Batman is actually going through the docks area. We also see some billboards that could be some obscure references, like Piper B, and also another one that looks like a reference to Billy D. Williams' Two-Face, but I can't really tell. While the next couple of vehicle shots don't have too many Easter eggs, there is one of the Iceberg Lounge in that shot, and also we see a very obvious reference to the Tumbler chase with the Tumbler in the next shot. We do see Batman jumping, and there is a pretty obvious reference to a couple characters in this shot right here, and then we get some obvious references and things that you can do in the Batcave, like playing an arcade machine and also a pinball machine as well, and we do see some other references on the side. We do see that you can ride on top of a train like you could in the original Lego Marvel games, and we see a sign with the old Gotham Hotel, which is pretty interesting, and a little bit of Batman fighting the Two-Face thugs from Batman Forever. We cut to another fight sequence with a reference to Black Canary with the street art behind Batman. We do have some miscellaneous fight sequences, but during this gliding sequence, we can see a lot of different references, along with a sequence with Ace Chemicals as well. We do see Batman fighting at some sort of carnival at some point. Outside of Jim and Batman building the Bat Signal, we do cut to Alfred hooking up something to excavate more of the Batcave. This trailer is full of Easter eggs, and some of them I may have missed, but there are a couple in another Legends of the Dark Knight teaser with the Xbox podcast, where we do see a little bit of some other Easter eggs that you may have missed when it comes to the Batcave, along with a graffiti teaser where there are a lot of nods nods to different elements of Batman's cover history and also movie history when it comes to movie covers and comic covers, where we can see this reference to the original Batman and Robin cover, and we can see a plethora of others like Tim Burton's Batman Returns, and also this one to the original Batman Year One comic and movie, and we also see some other different references as well. And we also see in the Xbox Game podcast some clips from the Batcave that do give us some nods to other Batman media, like this one being a reference to the Harley Quinn show, and this item over here being a very obscure reference to this bit of Batman media, and a couple other ones as well. Honestly, this game is full of Easter eggs, and I could make a whole dedicated hour-long video covering through everything, but I don't have the patience or time, and to be honest, this video is already getting to be pretty long as it is. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and let me know if there are any Easter eggs that I may have missed in this video down in the comments, and make sure to like this video if you did enjoy, or change it to a dislike if you didn't. It's perfectly fine. And if you are new to this channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification button to be notified whether I upload, whether it's Devil May Cry, Lego Batman, Resident Evil, Darksiders, or any other content under the sun. Make sure to have a good rest of your guys' night, morning, afternoon, or whatever it is for you in the world. Peace out. Check out some of the other videos on screen. Bye-bye.